Hello and welcome to the channel. My name is MightyHigh, and in this video I want to show you 10 different custom designs to make your builds look a bit more interesting. So moving on from right to left, we have our oak tree, which is just a standard oak tree. Then we're going on to a dark oak tree. Then we have our birch tree and our spruce tree. Then we have a tiny little tree in the middle. And moving on, we then have our kind of like our dead oak tree, I would say. And then moving on again, we have our cherry blossom tree. Then next to that, we have a kind of like an autumnal tree even. So maybe an autumn kind of build, or the autumn kind of colours. Then next to that, we have our palm tree. And then last but not least, we have a fallen tree. So these are the 3 designs that we have. So let's move on and show you how to build them. So if you're getting something out of this video, then be sure to like and subscribe, and also ding that bell so you don't miss out on any more content that I upload. So without further ado, let's show you how to build these. Right, so moving on over here, we have our first tree, which I'm just going to call an oak tree to be fair with you guys. So let's just show you guys what it looks like all the way around. So this tree is fairly simple, and it's also not that big. So to start off with, we want to make some oak kind of going up, and you can also make it random going up as well. So maybe add in some diagonal blocks. Like so, just try and make sure that it's somewhat useful to the build. So I'm just going to go up, let's say there, and then go on another diagonal like so. And there we have it, ladies and gentlemen. So we have our tree trunk here ready to put some leaves on. So now it's time to put some leaves on. So the first thing I'm going to do is just randomly cover up all this tree bark basically, so that we can't really see it. So now we've covered up all of the tree bark with leaves, the next thing we want to do is add some shape to it. So the way I'm adding shapes to it is basically just randomly adding blocks so it looks somewhat like a tree. And then maybe we can have some blocks going down like that, a couple of blocks, or leaves shall I say. And then we just add in some like that. They don't always have to look the same. In fact, it's better if they don't always look the same, to be fair, because you want them to look different and organic. So maybe we add a few more leaves up over here, and then we make that going down, and then we add some more to the top. So randomly like so, add in some more variation to this tree, and then we can add some over on this side, and then maybe another little dangly bit going down like that, and on the corners like so. And then we just need to basically give it a bit more shape on the top like so. Maybe get rid of a couple of blocks here and there if you feel that you've added a bit too much, which looks like the case here, but we can kind of sort that out as and when we go along. So maybe like that, and there we have it, ladies and gentlemen. So this is actually looking a bit blocky still, so let's just add a few more leaves around here so that we don't get that blockiness. And there we have it, ladies and gentlemen. So we've got most of the top sorted out now, so the only thing to do is to possibly come down here and add a few more trees to the bottom, because a few more leaves to the bottom even, not trees. To make the bottom somewhat look like the top, and then we can have maybe some leaves dropping down like that, and there we have it, ladies and gentlemen. So obviously this doesn't look anything like this, but it's very similar, and that's what you want to look for. You don't want to be exactly the same as that, but you want it to be similar, and that's the kind of thing that I'm going to be going through with all these trees. So this is our standard oak tree, so we're using our jungle leaves and we're using the oak bark blocks, but you could just use oak wood if you want. And then for the roots, all we're doing is getting rid of some of these blocks on the floor so that it looks like the roots are growing into the ground, and maybe you can have a few roots sticking up like so. and then just do that all the way around this tree like that, and then we can have a block like that, and there we have it, ladies and gentlemen. So there we have our first tree, which looks pretty cool. So moving on to our second tree, this is kind of like our dark oak tree, so we're using some birch oak leaves or birch leaves, and we're using some dark oak blocks, and we've also got some dark oak fences in there as well. So let's move on over to here. So let's start off with a couple of dark oak blocks like so, and then we're moving up with our dark oak fences like so, and then what we want to do is kind of add some branches like that, and they can be in any random order. I just prefer it to do it like this, so maybe you have one branch that's moving over to this side, and then one straight branch on the top, and then maybe we have a branch over here that's kind of like growing to the side as well. So now we have the outline for our tree, it's time to put some leaves in, and pretty much we're adding these leaves the same way as we did with the oak tree. So we're going to be covering all these up like so, just randomly, so that we've covered most of all these branches like this. So now we've covered up all the branches pretty much, it's time to add some shape to this. So again, all we're going to do is the same as we did with the oak tree. We're just going to add some random blocks. Let's get rid of the rain. So now the rain's cleared up, as I was saying, we're just going to add blocks randomly, or shall I say we're going to be using these birch leaves randomly just to add some shape to it, so that maybe this tree is like growing in all different directions and it doesn't even know where it's going, and something like that I would say. And then in the middle we can add some blocks like so. Moving over to the side, maybe we can have a few dangly bits as well. This top bit needs a bit of shaping, so let's just add some blocks like this, and then down here as well. And that's pretty much it, ladies and gentlemen. So this is our second tree, the dark oak tree, which is similar to the oak tree over here, but very different because we've basically split it in different directions, but the general concept is still the same. You want to make it different but similar as well. And then what I've done is I've also added some acacia leaves just to add a variety of colour, so we can just dot these around sparingly wherever you like, just so it adds a tiny bit of a brightness to it. So maybe these leaves are growing really well compared to the other leaves, and there we have it, ladies and gentlemen. So now we've added our acacia leaves to it, so it's just gives it a tiny bit of colour. We can then go on to the roots. So the roots is pretty much very similar to how we've done our oak tree, so we can get rid of some of this ground, maybe it can grow over to here, and then we can add some blocks sticking up, so maybe the roots have uprooted this ground so that it's sticking out of the ground and stuff like that, and then just moving around to the sides and so on, so that we can add some more roots and stuff like that. And there we have it, ladies and gentlemen. There we have our dark oak tree. So moving on to tree number 4, we have our birch tree over here. So the materials we need for this is birch wood, some birch leaves, some birch fences, and also some acacia leaves as well to add that tiny flare of colour. So let's go over to here and start building. So we want to go up about 3 blocks with the birch wood, and then possibly another 5 blocks with your fences. So then with our fences we do the same as what we did with the last tree. We just want to add some branches moving out in random directions, and this time I'm actually not going to curve this wood as much as I did the last time. So maybe we have something like that. So let's do the roots now. So these roots are pretty much the same as I've done every other tree, but instead with this one I want to make the roots more defined, so I've kind of added the blocks instead like this. So something like that, and then this root can go over there, and then we can thicken up the bottom like so. So now we've got our roots in place and we've also got our branches in place. All we need to do now is add some leaves around here, so let's do that quickly. it's pretty much the same as I did the other trees. Let's just go around here, and then all we're doing is we're filling up all of these branches and with birch leaves. So now we've filled up our branches with birch leaves, the only thing we need to do now is to make this look a bit more like a tree, because it looks a bit weird at the moment. And there we have it, ladies and gentlemen. So the next thing we want to do is just add these acacia leaves so that it gives a tiny bit of colour. And I'm just going to dot these sparingly, the same as I did with the other trees as well. So maybe we have a few around here. You don't need too many, because you just want it to add a tiny bit of colour to this tree. And there we have it, ladies and gentlemen. So here we have our birch tree. So moving on to tree number 4 now, we have our birch tree. So the resources you'll need for this is some spruce fences, some spruce wood, some birch leaves, and also some acacia leaves. So the way we start off with is we want our trunk there, maybe a couple of blocks, then going on to our oak fences, or spruce fences even, we want to go up about 6 or 7 blocks as well, and then we cap that off with our birch leaves like so. So now we move on down to the bottom, we just want to make a platform. It doesn't have to be exact obviously, but I'm just going to do it like so, like maybe like that, and then over to this side as well, maybe just one there, and then this side can be a tiny bit smaller like that. So now we have our base in there, we just want to connect all these together and just try and make it look as circular as possible. It doesn't have to be exact obviously, it just needs to look somewhat similar. So let's just do something like this, and maybe like that, and then over to this side as well we can add a couple of blocks like that, and maybe, yeah, like so, and then we just connect these together like this. And then we move on to the top so we can build the other shape. So we want to basically keep going down like this in somewhat of a diagonal, but you can go every 2 or 3 blocks if you wanted to, just so that we reach this top like so, and do that for all the corners. So now we've got the rough outline of what this tree is going to look like. The only thing we need to do now is kind of just fill in the gaps, to be fair. So it doesn't have to be exact, you can go out a couple of blocks here and there if you want. It's just to kind of fill in all these gaps like so, and then we can go up like this and then add a few in like this, and then the same on the other side as well. So let's do this. And there we have it, ladies and gentlemen. So this is our spruce tree. So maybe if it's looking a bit too flat like here, you can just add a few bits like so, going up randomly like so. And there we have it. So the only thing left to do is to add our acacia leaves, and all we do is kind of knock out some of these leaves and add a few random acacia leaves. So maybe we want one there, and one in the middle there. Let's knock out a couple of blocks that we don't really like, so maybe there, and so on and so forth. Maybe we add one there as well, and just randomly adding some bits of colour to this so that it looks somewhat decent. And I think that will do, to be fair with you. And there we have it, ladies and gentlemen. So this is our spruce tree. So moving on to tree number 5, possibly the easiest tree out of all of them to build. We have like a little shrubbery here. So let's move on over to here and show you how to build it. So we're using a composter for this one, just as like a little plant plot or something like that. So we add our composter like so. Then we want to shift click a birch fence onto it. And then we want to go up about 3 or 4 blocks like so. Then we're using some dark oak leaves here. So all we want to do is add 3 blocks like so, and do that on all 3 sides, or 4 sides even, like so. And then we add a little block on the top like so, just to round it off. And then to actually make it look like it's in some kind of pot, what we want to do is just add some stuff into this composter until it reaches the top, like so. And there we have it. So this is our tree number 5. Hi there, I'm just popping in to say if you haven't already subscribed, then subscribe, and also ding that bell and hit that like button. So, on with the video. So, moving on to tree number 6, we have this kind of like dying oak tree. So it's not got many leaves on it. So maybe it's either dying or it's getting to autumn, so the leaves are dropping off. So let's move over to here and show you how to build it. So the first thing we want to do is go up about 7 or 8 blocks like so, and then to make the branches all we need to do is kind of like randomly go up like so. Maybe we have blocks going up like here, and then we can cap that off and just do this kind of thing all the way around, so sparingly but not too much so it's just a massive blob. So let's say like so, and then we can go up a tiny bit over here. And then let's go over down here. Maybe we can have something like this going up, and maybe over to here again and going up again, and possibly even add a few more branches, maybe here going this way, and then over to this side we want a couple more branches going over to this side, possibly going up maybe, and then we can add one there and then add one there. I think that will be pretty decent. So now we've got all our branches in, the only thing to do now is to add our acacia leaves. So notice over here I haven't dotted them around like I would on the other trees. I've basically just used them sparingly, which is what we're going to do here. So maybe we add some leaves like this, and maybe some over to here. We want to show these branches as well, so that's the reason why I'm not using as many leaves as I possibly would do if it was a full tree. But this tree's dying, or maybe it's coming into autumn, so we don't really need as many leaves on it. So maybe something like this, and then up here, and then we can have a tiny little dangly thing there. And I would probably say that's about it, ladies and gentlemen. Maybe a couple more over to here, and then one there, and then a couple maybe just off to the side there, and that's it, ladies and gentlemen. So this is tree number 6, which is probably, apart from tree number 5, the easiest tree to build out of the lot of them. So moving on to tree number 7, we have our cherry blossom. So I really like this tree, and maybe if you've got like a Japanese themed build or something like that, this would suit really well. So we're using quite a few different blocks for this as well. So we've got some pink wool, we're using some pink terracotta, and we're also using some pink powdered concrete as well. So let's move over to here and show you how to build it. So what we want to do is we want to get some oak blocks going up about 3 or 4 blocks. Then we've got some spruce fences, so we go up the same, probably a bit more, 6 or 7 blocks like so, probably a bit higher than that. And then we just want to add our branches going in random directions. So I'm actually going to make these diagonal as well, or some of them diagonal like so. So I've got a branch there, and then maybe we can have a branch going over to this side, and then one over to here going straight, and then we just do that going up randomly. So maybe we start our next section over to here, and we're just kind of continuing this pattern until we reach the top. So once we've reached the top, we don't want to go overboard like so, but maybe we can go a bit higher like that, and possibly do the same over to here as well. So now we've got our branches in place, it's time to add some pink wool. So I'm going to just randomly and sparingly add this pink wool. As we can see over here, we can actually still see the branches, which I quite like. So maybe the cherry blossoms have already fallen to the floor, or we've got loads of mess on the floor because of the cherry blossoms or something like that. So that's the reason why we're leaving some of these branches bare, which if you've seen cherry blossom trees, that's kind of what happens when they bud anyway. So let's just add a bit more wool, pink wool even, over here and then on the top like so. And I think that will be enough. So now we can add some powdered concrete, so we can just again randomly and sparingly add these. And if you want to add powdered concrete to something like this, what you need is some string. So we need to place some string on the bottom like so, and then we can add our concrete, because if we didn't have that string, the powdered concrete will fall because it is actually a gravity block. So that's the reason why we're using some string. And then maybe we have something over here as well, and then we can add some more bits like this, and then maybe one under here as well. And the good thing about using string is that you can't really notice it unless you're really looking for it, but at a distance, looking at this tree, you wouldn't actually notice there's any string unless you were proper right next to it. But even then, it'll be really hard to see. See, like, you can't really see it unless you see the actual hitbox or like that. So that's the reason why we're doing that. So let's just add a few more bits of concrete and stuff around here. So now we've added some concrete, the last block to use is some pink glazed terracotta. So these are the one that you really do want to be using sparingly. As you can see over here, there's more pink wool and powdered concrete than there is terracotta. So that's the reason why I'm doing that. And I quite like this design, even though pink is somewhat of a girly colour. It really does look nice on a build like this, so that's the reason why I'm using pink. And also cherry blossoms are pink as well, so that's another reason why as well. So let's just add another one there, and maybe we can add a tiny bit of pink wool just so that it's got a tiny bit more shape, but not too much, because I'm pretty happy about this. So maybe we add another one under here. If I can, that is. Yep, cool. And then maybe like that, and maybe one there as well. Oh, before I forget, maybe we can also add a bit of pink carpet onto the bottom here. So maybe all these blossoms have fallen, so it looks like that half the tree or some of the blossoms are actually on the ground. So like so. And there we have it, ladies and gentlemen, our cherry blossom tree. Moving over to tree number 8, we have our autonomous tree. So we're using the autumn colours, some oranges, some reds, some yellows, and also we've got some green in there to indicate that maybe these leaves haven't fallen off yet. So let's show you how to build it. So we move on over to here. So we want our trunk going up about 3 or 4 blocks like so. Then we've got some spruce fences, and we're going up about 6 or 7 blocks with our fences. Then we want to add our branches, so the same as we did with all the other trees, just in random directions. So now we have our outline for our tree sorted, we can now add some blocks. So I'm using some wool, yellow wool, some green concrete powder, some orange concrete powder, and also some red concrete powder. But if you didn't want to use concrete, you could also use wool as well, which I've used both here. So we've got some green concrete powder, and we've also got some green wool here as well. So the way I've done this is I've used wool first. So we're using the yellow wool, we're just randomly dotting them around sparingly. Like so. I'm using all different colours this time, so you don't want to add maybe, let's say, 2 blocks like that. You want them in random places so it looks somewhat separated from all the other blocks. So that's our yellow sorted. Now we can move on to our green concrete. So now we've got our green in, it's time for the yellow, so it's the same again, we're just adding these randomly. And then our red concrete powder as well. So now we've added our autumn colours, we've got the reds, we've got the oranges, and we've got the yellows. Let's just add a bit more green wool to the place so it looks a bit more shapeified, or it's got a bit more shape, shall I say. And I would say that's about done, ladies and gentlemen. So here we have our autumn tree, or our dying tree, whatever you would like to call it. Moving on over to tree number 9, we have our palm tree. So we're making use of the composters here for the trunk, and also some jungle leaves as well. So these are the only 2 resources you will need to make this tree. So let's get on with it. So moving over to here, we add our trunk like so. You kind of have to shift click these, so let's go up about 4 blocks. Then what we want to do is go on a diagonal like this maybe. So maybe we have one up there, and then again just doing the same like so. So now we have our trunk ready. It's time to actually, let's just add another one there. It's time to add our leaves to it. So what we want to do is not add a leaf there, but on top of there like so. And then we're just going to basically go out 3 or 4 blocks on each corner like so. So that's another 3, 1, 2, 3, and then the same on this side like so. And then what we want to do is just connect these all together like so. And I've added an extra one on that side, but it's no worries. So now we can come down here and maybe add some dangle bits. Don't really know what to call them apart from that. It might sound a bit childish, but hey ho. So now we've got some on this side like so as well, on all 4 of the corners, and then on the top all we want to do is kind of like shape this up like this. And there we have it, ladies and gentlemen. So here we have our palm tree. Moving on over to our last tree on the list, we have our fallen tree. So I thought this was a nice little change to all the other trees that we've done. So maybe you can have this in a forest or something like that, where a tree's fallen down or something. So let's go over to here and show you how to build it. So what we want to do is we want to have some logs going on the floor like so, facing this way so that it looks like a logs. And then we want to cap that off with a actual bark block like so. And then possibly do the same over here as well, but you don't have to. You can leave it like that if you want. Then what we want to do is we've got some dark oak fences, so we're using these to lay out some branches that may have fallen as well. So we're just doing this on the floor as we did with the other branches. Maybe we go up a couple of blocks here and then one there, and maybe we have a branch over here, a little small one there, and possibly over here as well. So now we've got our branches in, it's time to get some oak leaves and just dot them around all over these branches like so. And the same with our tree over to this side over here. We don't necessarily need to add loads of them. So because it's a fallen tree, maybe all the leaves or most of the leaves have already fallen off it. So let's just add a few leaves over to here. And there we have it, ladies and gentlemen. This is our fallen tree. So if you wanted to add a tiny bit more detail, maybe we can add some branches like this. So when the tree's fallen, this branch has flown off over to here somewhere. And if you wanted to add a tiny bit more detail, you could possibly add a few more leaves to this as well, like so. But it's entirely up to you. So this is our fallen tree. So ladies and gentlemen, I hope you enjoyed this video, and now you should be able to build all these trees behind me. So if you like this video, then please click the like button, and if you really liked it, then click the subscribe button and ding that bell for further uploads. I've been MightyHigh, and thank you very much for watching. Goodbye.